How to Run a Drug Business 101. Could you be a cartel kingpin? Do you have what it takes to not only run a complex drug distribution network, but also not get caught? In 2019, an estimated $400 billion worldwide was spent on illegal drugs. That's more than the combined sales of Apple and Microsoft. With profit margins higher than any legal alternative, it's no wonder that criminal organizations rally to form clandestine, highly sophisticated networks to manufacture, package, distribute, and sell drugs around the world. It's a mind-blowingly massive industry, and despite its shady and often violent reputation, there are some bizarre parallels between running a successful drug business and operating a legal enterprise. The most profitable and enduring cartels function in much the same way that a modern corporation does. Like any business, a criminal drug operation needs a network to look after manufacturing, production, recruitment, HR, logistics, distribution, even PR and marketing. To raise profits and increase their market share, both corporations and cartels use similar tactics. Some of these strategies include outsourcing, franchising, competition gouging, and bribery. Yeah, you heard that right, businesses use bribery too, it's just called lobbying in the corporate world. In some cases, the only difference between a CEO and a cartel kingpin is a tie. This is How to Run a Drug Business 101, and in today's class, we're going to dive into the underbelly of organized commercial drug distribution. We'll explore the economics, the motivations, and the similarities between the cartel and the corporation. So let's get some definitions out of the way. If we're going by the dictionary definition, a cartel is any group of entities that collude with each other in order to improve their profits and dominate a particular market. While cartel behavior is illegal in the business world, forms of it exist in almost every company and every industry. Competing gas stations in a secret agreement will often spontaneously raise prices at the same time to the exact same higher amount. With consumers having no choice in price, both retailers benefit from the agreed price hike. For the purposes of this video, we'll be referring to drug cartels, a highly sophisticated criminal network composed of many smaller organizations that are contracted to carry out the manufacture, distribution, and sale of illicit drugs. While they dabble in people trafficking, counterfeit products, extortion, and kidnapping amongst others, drugs are by far the biggest earner. The economics of drug dealing. Illicit drugs are some of the most profitable substances by weight in the world. In fact, out of the top 10 most expensive materials on the planet, LSD, cocaine, and heroin rank number 7, number 8, and number 9 respectively. It's a big deal considering that list contains plutonium, diamonds, and antimatter. Take cocaine for example. In South America, you can pick up 350 kilograms or 771 pounds of coca leaf for around $400 US. Add another $400 to $600 for fillers, solvents, and acids for preparation, and you'll be able to manufacture 1 kilogram or 2.2 pounds of pure Bolivian cocaine. If you were to then turn around and sell that same kilo of coke in Bolivia, you'd get around $1,000 to $1,200. Best case scenario, you're making a few $100 for a mountain of risk and effort. But if you could somehow get that brick all the way back to the United States, that $1,000 kilo of crazy is now worth anything from $10,000 to $20,000 at wholesale. From here, that same kilo is on-sold by distributors to second or third level dealers for around $75,000. Further down the chain, that cocaine is undoubtedly cut and mixed with fillers to make the product go further and to increase profits. By the time it hits the streets, that same cocaine can be worth anything from $100,000 to $300,000, a potential 30,000% return on investment. But of course, cartels wouldn't just stop at a single kilo. Scaled-up operations is where the serious money is. Business is business. Criminality, especially those associated with the drug trade, are typically viewed as slackers or uninventive thugs who try and take the easy route to wealth and success. While that may be true for some, the vast majority of truly successful cartel kingpins are astute, savvy businessmen who probably would have performed equally as well in a corporate environment. Truly, the exceptional cartels have run their operation like a legitimate business, albeit sprinkled in with some beheadings, executions, and violent assaults on competitors. But the similarities between cartels and a free market don't stop there. Recruitment. Life expectancy can drop sharply when taking a job with your friendly neighborhood cartel. It's a well-documented yet never enjoyed fact of the industry. For this reason, cartels have a disproportionately high staff turnover rate. No one's retiring, but it's not uncommon for a cartel member to wind up in handcuffs, headless, or hanging from a bridge. When's the last time you saw a job ad for a street crack dealer? Getting the right personnel to work in a drug operation has a unique set of challenges. You want workers that understand the secret nature of the business and can be implicitly trusted, but it's hard to recruit without giving away at least some of the details of your operation. Prisons are an ideal recruitment zone for gang and cartel staff. Once described as cartel college, the Big House provides a breeding ground for ready and willing new members. Inmates are the perfect candidates, as once they're released, their job prospects can be limited, and cartel life seems like an attractive escape. Aside from prisons, cartels often swell their ranks acquiring and partnering with allied gangs. They're also known for recruiting children and the younger family members of those within their membership role. This is done to foster a sense of loyalty and community within the cartel, while at the same time allowing the cartel to gain leverage over any dissenting family members. Human resources. Managing the discipline and termination of poor-performing employees in the corporate world has long been the realm of your local, smiling HR. But a bad quarter in the office and the worst-case scenario is you being fired. In a cartel, punishments begin at severe and end up all the way at permanent termination. The cartels utilize violence as a means of creating committed organization members who understand the consequences of disloyalty and snitching. Even the low-level dealers, when arrested, charged, and questioned over their cartel associations, refuse to cooperate with police. They know any evidence of snitching, and their friends and family will end up as headless corpses on the side of the road. Cartel staff aren't just motivated by the ever-pending threat of murder. There's also some pretty sweet perks. Organizational members are treated to lucrative salaries, even at the very junior ranks, to help develop both loyalty and commitment. Marketing and PR. Some products are so good they market themselves, and drugs are lucky enough to fall into that category. You wouldn't see a TV commercial about the benefits of heroin for breakfast. Cartels have an advantage in that way over traditional enterprise. Their product is in constant and relatively steady demand. Drugs, and in particular cocaine, benefits from free advertising and trendy portrayals in movies and television. But what about public relations? You'd think a secret clandestine organization would want to keep a fairly low public profile. Surprisingly, many cartels can have a philanthropic arm, and they use their immense wealth to perform charity work in local, often poor communities. The infamous Joaquin Guzman, more commonly known as El Chapo of the Sinaloa cartel, was simultaneously known for his excessive brutality, but at the same time a generous humanitarian. El Chapo and his associates would build community roads, homes, churches, and schools while providing low-interest loans to local businesses. He came bearing gifts of cash, food, and supplies to remote communities in need. But we aren't talking about public relations here. El Chapo's benevolence had an ulterior motive. These remote communities were often poor farmers of a specific crop known as the coca plant. El Chapo relied on these communities for supply and manufacture of his product, and their cooperation was crucial in maintaining that steady flow. Poor farmer villages in remote areas often form part of cartel ranks if opportunities on the land aren't favorable. Where large companies often very publicly boast about their charitable exploits to improve their brand image, cartels are only doing it to keep the various links in their distribution network happy. Mitigating risk. Risk comes in all forms, and the ability to predict, adapt, and modify processes to minimize the risk to your operation is a crucial skill in any successful business. For the corporate world, it may mean insuring certain assets and projects against theft and damage. In the dangerous world of drug cartels, it may mean an extra magazine for your AK-47. Despite the obvious protections against violence and bloodshed, cartels have a structure that is intentionally set up to avoid any operation-ending incidents. Different elements of the operation are segregated from each other. One team procures the product, another organizes delivery, while the money is handled separately, being collected, counted, and stored by 3 completely different groups of people. This mitigates risks in several ways. It reduces the risk of any one person knowing the entirety of the operation at any given time. Full logistical details of any drug trafficking operation are known by only a handful of high-ranking key cartel leaders. This is so if and when someone along the chain gets arrested and interrogated, Even if they do flip, their information will largely be useless to the police. Secondly, when you separate the functions of your business, you minimize the chances of having what's known as a single source of failure. It's a term where a function or a process relies on only one person or machine to perform that action. If that person or machine quits or becomes inoperable, the whole system shuts down. With siloed functions, replacing that broken link in the chain is much easier, as your required skill set is much narrower. Bribery and lobbying. When it comes to trying to influence public policy or sway lenience from authority in your favor, there's a very fine line between what's considered bribery and lobbying. In fact, lobbying by definition is just the act of lawful bribery, and the conditions and ethics around what constitutes it are complicated to say the least. To put it simply, both drug cartels and legitimate businesses pass money, either under the table or over the table, in order to gain favor with a government official. In the corporate world, it may mean donating to a political party with a request to support a specific bill that benefits your bottom line. In the cutthroat world of illicit drug trafficking, it's a little cruder, but the end result is still the same. It often results in discreet wads of cash handed to police and town officials to turn a blind eye to the convoy of cocaine cars using their town as a bypass. Mexico's Secretary of Public Security speculated that during a 6-year period between 2006 and 2012, cartels spent a combined $1 billion on bribing a list of both American and Mexican officials. It included police officers, governors, prosecutors, and the military. Even those protecting the border are known to accept bribes from cartels. If you ever needed proof of how deep cartel pockets are and how corruptible the governments can be, often when drugs are in transit, the Mexican police serve as escorts and protect the cartel from rival gangs. Expansion tactics. When business is booming, companies can be tempted to scale up operations to increase profits. Cartels find themselves in a similar predicament. Any expansion has to be well planned and perfectly executed. There's a few tactics shared by both the legal and illegal enterprise, each with its similar yet vastly different methods. Outsourcing. Not everything can be offshored to an Indian call center, but innovative businesses look for expensive elements of their business they can delegate to a cheaper alternative. Drug cartels have the same ideas when they reach a certain level of growth and influence. And while you can't actually advertise for a drug mule on Airtasker, other, smaller established gangs can be effectively contracted to perform specialized portions of your operation. Thinking bigger, drug traffickers often look to nearby countries with relaxed laws, bribable officials, or cheaper labor. Franchising. When McDonald's first unveiled its franchise model for would-be entrepreneurs, I bet they never considered that the process would be used to develop satellite cells of vicious murdering drug cartels. Well, like any good capitalist venture, franchising allows a rapid expansion of a pre-established brand identity, and the Zetas are famous for implementing this strategy into their expansion. When cartel members discover local, unaffiliated criminals in the middle of illegal behavior, they effectively brand them into their organization. They give them Zetas-branded baseball caps and t-shirts, provide weapons training, and invite them to represent the cartel in their criminal dealings. In return, a cut of the criminal proceedings goes back up the Zetas chain. Like any fast expansion, you have to take special care not to grow too big too fast. If you have a McDonald's on every corner, eventually the managers will start fighting. Diversification. Markets crash, new laws are written, technology improves. Let's face it, things change. Having multiple streams of income and multiple sources of supply is a good idea if you want your business to have longevity. When marijuana first began to be legalized state by state in the United States, it put the black market in a spin. Mexican cartels that supplied high-grade marijuana from across the border suddenly found their market had dried up almost overnight. If this was your only product and only line of income, it could honestly sink you very quickly. Big players in the corporate world diversify their business to protect against unforeseen circumstances. It's part of their risk mitigation plan. Home products behemoth Johnson & Johnson don't just make baby shampoo and Band-Aids. They manufacture prescription pharmaceuticals and produce medical instruments used by hospitals and surgeries. Drug cartels can diversify in one of two ways. Vertical diversification involves offering a slightly different product using your existing network. This could be done through branching out into the manufacture or distribution of another type of drug. You already have the infrastructure ready. You'd just be increasing your target demographic and bottom line as a result. Horizontal diversification is where a business adopts new processes or products, repurposing your existing network to fit other operations. Examples of this in the cartel world can be seen in an adoption of racketeering, gun running, human trafficking, oil theft, piracy, kidnapping, and extortion. Some cartels have also recently been pulled into Mexico's multi-billion-dollar avocado industry, with bloody battles erupting over control of the unlikely fruit. The skills needed to success in the enterprise business world and those needed to run a profitable and effective drug cartel are eerily similar. An aptitude in negotiation, people skills, and psychology is crucial to maintaining fear, intimidation, and respect. With so many ingenious trafficking methods, so many diabolically complex plots to evade capture, it's anyone's guess what these cartel bosses could have achieved within the legal sphere had they been given the chance. This has been How to Run a Drug Business 101. Thanks for watching.